Vicious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! And they are back on terms!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. We are back again. We have a review of sorts to do, I suppose, from Tuesday night. But then we're going to look ahead. We're going to look at the Cheltenham Town on Saturday afternoon and some transfer business, sort of, to talk about. We'll get on that. Lewis Alden's back with us. Thank you for joining us, Lewis. It's been a while.
It has. But yeah, thanks for having me on again, lads.
Pleasure. Danny, back with us as well. Thank you for coming, Danny.
Hello, how you doing?
Not bad, mate. And we have Michael with us as well with a new camera set up.
Yes. Hello.
I was told Ben would be here, but Ben is nowhere to be seen.
Ben, I've just spoken to Ben just prior to this. He'll not thank me for this, but I'll tell you anyway. He's got a call for sometime after 8 o'clock for about 20 minutes or so he may join us. Ben with his possible suspected second broken wrist of the last 12 months. different wrist. So yeah. So if he does come on, I'm sure he'll be smiling.
Ben in a bad mood. I wonder what that's like. So yeah, Tuesday night's game was called off because it was cold. There was a frozen pitch. It seems to divide the fans almost as much as the Freddie situation, to be honest with you. It was a surprise, Mick. It was a real surprise because it wasn't that cold during the day, so it took everybody off guard a little bit, didn't it?
It was a surprise because some were out, but it is January, and the night before it was -5, -6. The fact that anybody would think that the club weren't taking reasonable precautions about the weather, just it's a bit peculiar. Some of the stuff you read on social media, just for a person of my age, I find it really hard to get my head around. I do honestly. It's like, well, what do you think? It's not like a deliberate act, is it? You know what I mean? It were cold. Pitch is frozen. It happens. Get over it. We lose. Get over it. Come on.
Yeah, I was also surprised with how well we've done in the history of New York Stadium. Last season was the first time we've ever had a postponement because of a pitch problem. And now we've had 3 or whatever it is. I think a couple last season. I count with this one as well. I think that's part of the shock as well. This is a new thing, Lewis, for the state, for not as Rotherham United's history, but in terms of New York Stadium, it's new and weird that we're having to get games called off because of the pitch. We're not used to it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think we're quite well known for having one of the best pitches in the league, aren't we? We are well, it's looked after and everything. I don't think it helped with Saturday with a frustrating loss against Fleetwood that fans were annoyed anyway in the aftermath of that. But I think it's just been blown out of proportion, really. It's just the fact that some people think it's like a big conspiracy theory is baffling, really. And I'm a big fan of Alan Biggs, but his tweet the other day was, I think he called it embarrassing. I think it was his word. It's just a bit weird, to be honest with you.
I think he did tweet before he thought there, didn't he?
He didn't, but the thing is, he didn't just tweet once, did he? I think he tweeted 3 or 4 times about it.
We responded to it saying saying you were right, basically what we were saying. But I think some people say, I think Sheffield FC played, and I know Maltby Main played as well. But that argument's just baffling as well, considering that there's the cover on New York compared to like an open field, which would be a Maltby Main, and Sheffield FC obviously it plays an influence on it. Which is baffling.
Yeah. It's one of them, Danny. From the outside, it doesn't look great, but it is just one of those things. It's unfortunate where the stand lies and the sun shines down. It's just unfortunate, but I get what people are saying. I understand the frustration, but then you've got to sit back and think, well, we haven't done this on purpose. And bearing in mind how good our pitch has done, it's unlikely somebody's made a mistake. So if you put everything together, it just sort of looks unlucky, but I can see their points as well, sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can definitely see where people are coming from. And I think some people did get very tinfoil hatty about the situation. But we had some Lincoln fans who were saying, oh, we're scared to play them. We've heard that one before, haven't we, from a particular county team down south. But, yeah, I mean, like we've said, we've been very lucky with New York Stadium in terms of not needing postponements due to the weather, despite the fact we haven't got undersoil heating and we've got not top grade drainage, but good drainage. So we've just been lucky, and now we've been unlucky that it's affected it how it has. But the whole argument about Maltby Main being able to play and us not, it's exactly right. It's an open field. It's actually better at thawing out because it's an open field and it gets sunlight and everything can disperse. But the reason why the game was called off was because the south stand penalty area was frozen solid because it doesn't get any sun. So that was the concern. They called the referee down at 1 o'clock for the pitch inspection, and he's the one who called it off. Everybody else was surprised, but even when Paul Warren went down and he treaded the turf, and he's like, "Yeah, we can't play on this; it's too solid." So it's just unfortunate, but like you say, it's probably just still heated from Saturday. Some people haven't let it go. But the ferocity of people arguing their point of view on Twitter, it's like I had to put my phone down. It's like, you know what? I've said my piece. I'm going for a cup of tea. I've had enough. Yeah. But one of my mates, he works pitch side on a match day, and he was giving me a lot of information. And last night it was about -7, -8 pitch side before the game, and it only got up to 1 o'clock. It only got up to 1 degree at about 4, 5 o'clock ish. So there was no way we were going to play on that pitch in time. But we'll have to rearrange, and I think it will probably be March 15th. I think. So I think that's the next time us and Lincoln are both free on a Tuesday. Unless I want to play on a Wednesday, but I don't think we will.
No. Yeah, it's frustrating. I get the frustration. We all get the frustration, but the next concern, Mick, is for me. I didn't think Monday night was that cold. It obviously wasn't up to -7, but I was surprised that it turned out to be that cold. The concern is there an issue with it? You know, if in a few nights' time, Friday night, it turns out to be similarly cold, or in future, I wonder if there is anything else that they can do to stop this happening again in future. Because as you say, it's January, February. It's going to get very, very cold. I wonder, and I don't suppose you're a groundsman, are you?
Yeah, I'm a groundsman. Yeah. I can give an opinion on it.
Do it.
What can you do?
That's the question.
Hairdryers.
It depends. It depends on the time of year. In 2 weeks' time, the sun's going to be somewhere else in the sky. It's going to be higher up the sky. You know, I can't. I mean, I can't believe I'm having to explain weather to people, to be honest. But you know, listen. On Monday night, Tuesday morning, when I got up for work at 6:30, it was frozen solid. It was horrible. It was as cold as I've seen it all winter, to be honest, where I live. So I'm not in the least little bit surprised. And I'm only 2 or 3 miles from ground, unlike Alan Biggs, who's a bit further away. So, you know, I'm gonna come down on the other side of the fence to Alan and say that I am not surprised it was off, because it was very, very cold where I was. But like Alan, I wasn't at New York Stadium either.
Did anyone see that someone quoted my tweet to Alan Biggs about listing why it was called off? Yeah, someone tweeted it to him, and it's like, oh no, someone's tagged me to an official journalist. Yeah. It's like, this is why you're wrong. It's like, oh no.
It's your career, really.
Yeah, that's me not going on Sheffield TV at all, is it?
Yeah. A couple of comments. Harvey Kellett's with us. Thank you for joining us. Harvey, Jamie, with a good point. People would have soon moaned if we'd played on a frozen pitch and injured themselves. Yeah. and that's the other side to it. It is obviously a health and safety issue. Frustrating, very frustrating for everybody involved, I'm sure. Shall we talk about some transfer stuff before we get on to the Cheltenham business? Danny, it's been a confusing day, to be honest with transfer stuff. Georgie Kelly is the man. The heat of all conversations. The Bradford manager essentially leaked our interest, saying that Rose and Bradford are interested, and he's now come out and said that us and Bradford are interested, and he's not going to Bradford because he's agreed a deal elsewhere. Having Paul Warne said 2 hours earlier, there is nothing imminent, and no deal has been offered. Would you like to get to any idea what's actually going on?
Well, there is one thing that I know that I'm actually not at liberty to discuss until it's officially out there. But the whole rumour surrounding George Kelly initially came out in early December, when I think it was the Derry Journal said that he's not coming back to Derry City. He said he wants to play in England or Scotland after Christmas. And they linked, who was it? Dundee, Ross County, us, Bradford, and Portsmouth, I think they listed as all being interested, which was then whittled down to us and Bradford. And Bradford's manager, very thankfully, leaked saying, "Oh no, we've pulled out because he's accepted an offer somewhere." And even Paul Warne's like, "Why have you said that? Why have you said that you're competing with us for him? We're not having a best of luck this transfer window with things being leaked, are we?" But yeah, like Warney said, we have spoke to him and basically just told him the situation. We've got 4 strikers. We don't want a 5th unless one of them leaves. So it's definitely a pendulum whether or not Freddie leaves if we pursue Georgie Kelly. But if I was a betting man, which I'm not, sort of, I wouldn't put money on George Kelly coming to us purely because we've seen this situation unfold before and he's ended up going to Chef Wednesday. So it might unravel that way again. I will probably scream myself to sleep in a pillow if he does end up going to Chef Wednesday instead of us. But yeah, it's one of them where you just have to wait and see how it develops because it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, it feels, Lewis, like everything depends on Freddie, doesn't it? If Freddie goes, I suspect we'll pull the trigger. He's ticking a lot of boxes. He ticks a lot of the Freddie boxes. He scored goals. What is it? Where am I going? 58 goals and 133 appearances as a striker, according to Transfer Market. So he ticks the Freddie box, it seems, rather than the sort of Smith and Coyote box.
Yeah, on paper it looks like a good deal. I think Paul Davis saying it will be a free transfer, which suits us as well. Is a good? I think he's 25, so it's good age as well. There's just a bit of question marks about him considering he's not played in England before, and the standard, in no disrespect to the Irish league, it's just different to even our even League One. But he's got the stats to back it up. It's just like you say, it just depends on Freddie really. It's all seems to have gone quiet again on him, apart from the odd Twitter rubbish you see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just sort of depend on Freddie. Right now, I can't see him leaving, just from my point of view. I think he'll stay with us until summer. And then maybe sell him then, depending on what he's feeling. But yeah, it would depend on Freddie.
Yeah. He changed his tune a little bit today, Mick. Paul Warne is talking. He sort of talks about almost needing to strengthen. Whereas in all his other interviews, he did go on to say he'd be happy to finish 1st of February the same squad, but when the transfer window started, he was not talking about strengthening at all. There was no word of strengthening. Obviously, they've got some names just in case, but his tune has changed a little bit. So I wonder if something has changed behind the scenes that we're not privy to and that he can't tell us about yet.
Possibly. But one of the things that's changed is that Freddie's obviously put in a transfer request. So that obviously has changed. Maybe Paul Warne's telling the truth. Maybe Paul Warne's not keeping his cards close to his chest, and he's telling the truth with no interest until we sell Freddie in anybody. Why is there any real reason to think any different to that, or speculate any different to that? Because we've seen the issues that speculating on transfers has on certainly on social media, and whether that translates into supporters' behaviour at the ground, should Freddie get a start or come on as a substitute, all of those things are negative, really, aren't they? They're all negative outcomes, if you like. If we sign somebody, and it'll be the right person. If we don't sign anybody, we don't sign anybody. We've got the right people. You know what I mean? All we're trying to do is add a little bit more in there if something is taken away in the shape of Freddie. So I don't see the point in speculating personally and all this nonsense.
Why? It's fun.
Well, yeah, but that's just me. I'm not bothered. I don't want to. You know, whatever happens, and we'll take it from there, won't we? You know, that's my view. I trust in Rob Scott. I trust in Paul Warne to get the right people in if they feel that they need anything else. And when they announce it, happy days. That's me. I'm happy. If they don't, I'm not going to cry.
You might.
I tell you what will happen. We'll discuss all this and it'll go out as a podcast tomorrow on Friday. And then we'll announce saying Freddie Ladipo's gone to, I don't know, somewhere, and George Kelly's joined the Millers. And it'll be like, damn. That's just sod's law.
Yeah.
That's bound to happen, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Chris Tether points that in relation to George Kelly, we can't expect to sit there and wait for us. If he's good enough, just go and sign him before somebody else does. Now, I come back to that would be, number one, he's a risk. So it's not like we're signing Freddie, who was proven at this level, and he's out of contract anyway. So from his point of view, if we appear to be, based on the names linked, we're the highest ranked club out of them. We're nearly a championship team. So he should wait, realistically. If I'm in his shoes, I'm thinking, I want to wait, see if Rotherham are available. Because you've got to assume we're going to offer more money because we're a League One club. We're a highest placed team. What's the harm in waiting literally 10 days? Because the transfer window ends in 10 days. So it seems to fit all around for him to wait. Because hopefully Freddie goes from Freddie's point of view. And there is no rush. It feels to me there's no rush on this one. I might be wrong. Joe Dapper also, their season ended in November. Did you say, Danny?
They only play a summer season in Ireland, so their next season's 2022 in April, I think, when their season kicks off again. I think.
Yeah.
It just depends on how desperate he is to play football, in my opinion. If he's chomping at a bit to play football, then he will go to Bradford and work his way up, or whoever else is interested and work his way up. But like you say, I think the main risk with him is that, do we really want to take someone from the League of Ireland, which again, no disrespect to League of Ireland, we don't know what their standards like because we don't watch it because we're all English. But would we take the risk on taking him straight from there and then putting him into the Championship without bedding him in first in League One? If that makes sense. And like you said, it might be in his best interest to wait another 10 days or so to see if Rotherham become available, and then if not, then he signs with somebody else on the end of the deadline. But if he's desperate to start getting himself busy in English or Scottish football, then if someone's got a contract on the table, it's well within his right to just go, I'll come and play for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And there's always, throwing a left field one. Warney might feel that we need somebody with goals, and he may feel he wants to loan JJ out. Now, I don't think that's the case, but you never know with the games that JJ has played. That's always something that could be the case. Owen OB, apparently it was scheduled to go to Lincoln, but it lasted. At least it will be a bit warmer. Very good. Any little transfer rumours? There was a phrase Birmingham one which has gone quiet very quickly. Anybody else? Any of the transfer rumours seen bubbling up?
It's just about Tilt, isn't it, really? That's all else I've seen so far. Apparently, I think Paul Davis said he's close to going to Wigan now, which if they're playing what we want for him, brilliant, because it suits all parties. If we get it looks like we'll get a profit on him, which is a brilliant bit of business if we can. He's played about 10 minutes for us, hasn't he? So Yeah, hopefully that goes through.
Again, that's another bizarre one, though, isn't it? Because the advertiser's saying the deal's closed, but then Yorkshire Post went, "Oh, it seems the deal's off." It's like, lads, which one is it?
Yeah.
Pick one and stick with it.
Yeah.
The newspapers that report on Rotherham seem to be doing a bend where they can't stick to one mindset throughout what they're talking about, and so it's like, "Oh, it might be this, or it might be that." Just pick one and run with it. If you think he's leaving, stick with it, like the advertiser's doing, because obviously Paul Davis is a little bit more in the know. But with Yorkshire Post just going out, it appears the deal's off. It's like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah. Well, listen to Paul Warren's words. He seemed pessimistic about the deal. But then when does Paul Warren not seem pessimistic about a deal, Mick? Every time there's a transfer, until it's literally signed, Paul Warren's always concerned. And I suppose it's just that. But it's probably just that, isn't it?
That's his personality, isn't it? That's how Paul Warren is. You know, he's kind of... it comes across almost sort of lacking in the belief that things are going to go right. Does that make sense? You know, he seems to be always expecting things to go wrong, kind of thing. So, yeah, it was a bit bizarre, that Curtis Tilt thing, because I know Paul Davis sort of tweeted that the deal was they were talking. You know, they've been talking, and it was almost imminent that something would go through, and then within seconds, somebody else tweeted saying he's going to be stopping at New York Stadium to end the season. It's like, well, I trust Paul Davis. Whatever Paul Davis tells us, he will have been told what the club's official line is, and you've got to stick with club's official line, haven't you? You know, because that's gospel as it stands. That's how it is at the moment. Or are they double bluffing us all after what happened with Freddie? Who knows? It's all fun, isn't it?
All fun and games.
I understand we've got bidding for it to bring in Iniesta out of retirement. That's my last one, and I know that Lionel Messi's not happy at PSG. He's not happy in Paris. I can start that rumour again if you want.
I think if Messi was to come here, he would have to pay us to play for us, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It'd be like the whole divvying out subs to come and play for your local pub team. Like, yeah, you can come and play for us, Messi, but give 100k and then a week, and then you can come and play for us.
I think that's part of the deal, to be honest with you, Danny.
Oh no, I've not leaked some, have
I? Brill. I suspect with the Tilt one, I think because Paul Warren said something along the lines of "I'm preparing for him to be here for the rest of the season." I suspect Yorkshire Post or somebody's gone, "Oh well, that means he's stopping for the rest of the season." He did say other stuff as well, didn't he? I think it's important to point out. We'll see. Hopefully, for Tilt's sake and our sake, it's done.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately for him, he's not needed, and that's the black and white of it. Unfortunately for him. Yeah. There we go. Midweek game. There was only one midweek game that affected us. Wigan came from behind again to win. They've still got a few games in hand. They're still behind us in the tail by a point. Did anybody watch the game?
No.
Me neither.
I was too busy crying about pitch being frozen. I couldn't watch any football.
So yeah, nothing really changed in midweek because of that. We don't know a lot about how fixture congestion is going to affect teams, but let's talk about football that's actually scheduled to happen. Cheltenham coming to town on Saturday afternoon. The first time we've played them at home in a little while, 2012, sorry, was the last time we played them at home, which was a 4-2 victory. I looked at the table earlier, Danny, and I thought, you know what? I'm surprised they're up there, 14th, 15th. And then I looked at their recent form, and it's rubbish. They haven't won in their last 9 or 10. The last win was in November, and it was against Gillingham, who we know are very bad at the minute. I was expecting a tougher game, and then I looked at the fixtures like, actually, we might be meeting them at the right time here.
Yeah, I mean, I had a look at their press before coming on, and they haven't won in 2022 yet. Yeah. But knowing the pot luck that follows Rotherham, there's a first time for everything. And because you haven't won in 2022, we'll just go, here you go, lads, there's 3 points for you. But no, with Cheltenham, they have actually started recruiting really well. I think they've got a young lad on loan from Tottenham who's just signed, so he's looking to make an impact in the EFL. They've signed a guy from abroad I think from a Norwegian team, I guess. I think it's Norwegian. It sounds Norwegian. Anyway, so they have been recruiting players quite well, but it almost seems like they haven't bedded in yet and they haven't clicked. And yeah, like you said, it is quite surprising that they are, what did you say, 14th in the league?
14th at minute, yeah.
Yeah, so they've obviously picked up points earlier in the season and been coasting a bit with more draws, but it's one of them games where they lost 3 points in the last minute against Charlton last time out with a last-minute winner. So they'll be looking to improve on that, which is sort of bad news for us because they've already played a team with a very strong squad. So it's like, right, just go again, but improve. So it's a bit of a teeth clencher for me.
Yeah, but we've got with potential banana skins all over the shop this season. This is another one. Yeah, they've drawn the joint most amount of games this season. They've drawn 10 games, only them and Wednesday that have drawn double-figure games, and that's how they find themselves in there. And to be fair, bear in mind that where they came up, Lewis, and what their pre-season expectations were, I'm sure they would have bitten your hand off for their league position and their run they've had.
Yeah, they're just the position they're in. If they stay up, they're buzzing, aren't they? And that's I think they're about 7 points clear of safety at the minute, something like that. Anyway, so if they can stay around that, they'll be happy with the season. I know Michael Duff's highly regarded, so he's doing a good job over there. I've noticed when I look through the guide, they've got an absolutely awful defensive record. I think they've conceded 45 this year. I think only Donny and is it Morecambe that are worse? So that's promising. Don't want to jinx it, but yeah, they've got a couple of decent players. Like Alfie May used to play for Donny. He scored a couple for him this year, and Callum Wright, I think it is, who plays attacking midfield. He's their main provider. They'll provide a tough test for us. I think we've got our run of games coming up are full of potential banana skins. I think we've got Crew, Accrington. I think Donny are thrown in there as well. So it's just them type of games that we need to position we're in, need to get past. Just get back onto momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Get back on the horse. When we played them at their place, Mick, it was a 2-0 win in the end, but it was really comfortable 2-0. I thought we were comfortably the better team. If they had a chance, it was quite late on when it was already 2-0. So for me, that's more of the same because that's what we need. We really need to get back on the horse and just find a good performance. Not only a win, we need a good performance, really.
That the performance is more important than anything else, really, because we're in a slump at the moment, aren't we? Every team's going to go through at least one bad patch of season, and we're in our bad patch. There's no question about that. The way that we're playing is well, like we said after the Fleetwood game, just utterly toothless in that game. There's just no sort of rhythm to game. Just weren't really even involved in it as such. And that's been a theme that's run through quite a few games recently. So it's more the performance than I would happily pace them 1-0 rather than sort of grab 3 lucky goals or whatever. Look, they're a team that we should be beating, and I hate saying that. It's not a team like Cheltenham or a team like Fleetwood or anything like that. But just from league positions alone, it's a team that we should be beating. From the stats that Lewis has just mentioned there about how many goals they've conceded, they're a team and how many goals we've scored. They're a team that we should be beating just on those stats alone. So, but for me, it's about the performance. It's all about the performance because if we can get back and hit that stride that we had sort of early to sort of mid-autumn, then we'll be back on top and back singing again. So, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, I agree on performances. So that brings us to where we think and how we think we're going to set up. It's difficult then because the performance in the first half against Fleetwood certainly wasn't perfect. There were certainly problems, but the first half performance was much better than the second half performance, which included Will Grigg. And then there's the question of Stadler for Wiles potentially. We'll start with the strike force again, as we always like to. Will Grigg, JJ, or Freddie to partner Smith?
I'm going to stick with Grigg personally, purely because I think he needs a good run out in the side. He needs consecutive starts to really get himself going and understand where to be, and like basically just to get his eye in, really. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with Grigg, but I do have my suspicions that Freddie will come on in the second half, because again, that's another thing that Warney seems to have come round a bit on in comments wise, because he has admitted that he kept Freddie out the side because he handed in his transfer request. He's come out and openly said that to the advertiser. But like we've said before, he's sort of doubled back a bit and said whether or not it was the right decision, he doesn't know. But if Freddie's still committed, which by the sounds of it he is, because he's been training really well and they've had a very in-depth conversation about why Freddie handed in his request and what his motivations are behind it. But if Freddie's still committed to Rotherham, if he's still like our player, then Warney can utilise him where he can. But I think in terms of what's best going forward against Cheltenham, start Grigg, bring Freddie on as a bit of an injection at the end, and then if he comes on and runs his socks off like we have seen Freddie do this season, then great. But if he comes on and sort of reverts back to the other version of Freddie that we've seen, who sort of marauds about a little bit, that's when you have to consider, is his heart still in it? But if he puts in a bombing performance when he comes on, then he might be able to bring the fans around a little bit too. That's my headspace anyway. To quote Ben, I'm not a football manager, so I don't know. But
yeah, let's hope so. I think he talked about it a bit. We're not knowing whether he's played the cards right, Lewis, about Freddie. For me, I think he's done the right thing. Yeah, Freddie could have scored a goal here and there. But if we'd have played Freddie in one of the games, there would have been certainly a reaction, quite a big reaction. Certainly if he came against QPR, for example, and cut straight away. I think it's not died down completely, but I think it's taken the sting out of the situation a little bit, having had 2 weeks, 10 days away from the first team. So if he does come on Saturday, I still think there will be a reaction, but it certainly wouldn't be what it was 15 days ago.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's more in the back of people's minds now than it was 10 days ago. It's still, obviously, there's still a lot of anger there, as you can see on social media, but I think it's slightly more in the back of people's minds. And as Danny said, it's down to his performance. If he comes on and runs his socks off, there will be some cheers for him, no doubt, because that's how just fickle Rotherham fans, isn't it? As well, any football really. Especially if he scores a goal as well, that'll help. But yeah, I agree with Danny. I think he'll start Grigg and perhaps, depending on how the game goes, bring the Freddie on with 20 minutes, half an hour to go, and just see how he does.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Mick, are you with that, or can you see any argument for starting JJ at the minute?
No, probably not. Probably not. I think Grigg needs a run now. I can't see any argument for bringing Freddie on either, frankly. At the moment, that's just my view. I think it's an ideal opportunity to bring JJ on in the second half and give him some game time. I think if Freddie wants to leave and the will is there, he will leave. But Grigg, for me, I'm with Danny, definitely 100%. He needs a regular run of starts, and he'll start firing. Sunderland can't call him back now, so it's time for him to start. And
could score 20 goals.
Yeah, exactly. Without fear of him leaving. So and let's get the Freddie situation sorted out. I noticed there's a couple of comments from John Morell, the Birmingham fan, on the thing there. He's put on about thinking Freddie would face in Barnsley at the weekend. I'm assuming then, John, that about Birmingham playing Barnsley at weekend. Is that?
Yeah. Never believe anything you read on Twitter from like some sort of EFL transfer, whatever.
It's got 10 followers.
Yeah, exactly. Mind you, though, even the official ones have been a bit iffy this season. With Football League World and such. Yes, I will name them now because the advertiser has. I think with Football League World now, it's one more strike and they're out. Because they got the Grigg recall thing wrong. What was the other exclusive they got wrong? Stockton. Yeah, that's it. And so it's like that's 2 warnings now, lads. One more and you've battered out.
You can't give them 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You could give him a second yellow card and go, right, that's you done now, if we're talking football terms. But I don't know. Freddie to Birmingham, maybe.
Could you see Birmingham playing, let's say, 800 grand, which that's my random figure I've put on it. But that's going to be roughly what we're asking, realistically. Can you see Birmingham paying that cash, really? I can't.
Depends on how desperate they are for a striker, to be honest.
Yeah.
But...
True.
I mean, if the thing is, you know as well as I do, well, we all know that Freddie will get you. He will net you some goals. There's no question about that. Whether it be Championship or League One level, he will net you some goals. But it depends on how you play. And the issues that we've had with him is that his style, his sort of natural style, if you like, doesn't fit with the natural style of Rotherham United. He's not a high energy, high pressing player. He's a poacher. And he is a lower end Championship, higher end League One poacher. He'll score you 5 out of 10, won't he? You know what I mean?
But that does suit Birmingham. Birmingham have always been, in Championship terms, they've always been average. So I can see why somebody's made that link, because Freddie is an average type striker. Birmingham, I'm sure they want to be more, but they are an average type club. So
they have
makes
been
sense
over the last few seasons, haven't they?
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know. He'll score goals wherever he goes. He's going to score goals, isn't he? It's just the in between bits that, from a Rotherham United point of view, and the style that we play and everything else, it don't fit. It never really has done, has it?
No, it doesn't. John Mill on the Birmingham point of view says they sold an EK for 300k and working on a 1-in, 1-out situation, so might be interested, but can't see them splashing 700, 800k. Too much of a risk. There you go. And to be fair, there's a fair few Championship clubs in a similar boat. There's not much cash floating about, is there really?
Well, Birmingham have had the financial problems anyway, aren't they? And so it would appear from the outside that they're being quite sort of prudent at the moment, which is going to be a good thing, can't it?
Yeah. So that's what we've got for now. I'm sure we'll come back to Freddie in a minute, because how can we not a minute? The midfield situation is again almost as complicated as the striking situation, Lewis, because Barlaser starts for me. I thought it was really good against Fleetwood. He gives you everything we need. He's key. But based on last week and last month or so, the other two spots are wide open because Wiles has not been on it for one reason or another. And Rathbone has not been bad, but he's dropped off his standard usual performances. So it could be Barlaser plus 2 of 4 or 5.
Yeah. I think if depending if Sadly is fit, I know we weren't fit, he weren't included on against Fleet, was it? But I think he's going off his recent form. I think he wanted to start compared to Wiles, which is his start of the season. They were brilliant Wiles, but the last few weeks he has dropped off. It wouldn't surprise me if Lindsay came in for Rathbone either, to be honest. I think they were similar. I think they were a bit more like for like than Lindsay coming in for Wiles, for example. So it wouldn't surprise me if one went for that, but I can't see him making 2 changes. I think it might be one or the other. Sadly, for Wiles or Rathbone for Lindsay.
Yeah, Steve Cooper thinks we'll make 2 as well. Barlaser, Lindsay, Sadlier. With another comment somewhere else, which I have lost. Here we go. Josh Smith. They're tempted to bring in Lindsay for Rathbone or a Duffin for Rathbone and push Barlaser further forward. Let a Duffin sit. Sadly, even for Wiles if he's fit enough to start. That's interesting. Mick, I would love to see a Duffin start, but I can't see him getting in there in front of everybody else.
No, I can't. It's too similar in terms of the position that he plays to Dan Barlaser. He's not got that. Obviously, not got that passing ability. Nobody has in this division, have they? Realistically, I can't see a Duffin starting. Sadly, I'm still jury's still out for me on Kieran Sadlier.
You and Ben.
I know that. Yeah, listen, I know he's got it, but he is no Ben Wiles, is he? And I know that, and it's so difficult because Ben Wiles has just not been up to scratch in the last 5 or 6 performances or appearances that he's had. So, I don't know. I guess Sadlier a run, but I think the other thing I would say about Rathbone is maybe is Rathbone being found out a little bit. I don't know. He's just not been that effective, has he, in the last few games? Whether that's just reflecting the way the team's performed, or what, I don't know. But Lindsay and Wiles for me as Barlas is a given.
Yeah. We should plug this now. Plug it now. If you haven't already, you should check out the Barlasser episode. We spoke to Dan Barlasser. We put it out Wednesday night, Thursday morning podcast. If you haven't watched that already, go and give it a watch because it's brilliant. You'll get to see his dog. His dog makes an appearance after the episode. So does Danny's dog as well, doesn't it, Danny?
Yep. Yeah, he wasn't very lively, my dog, though. He didn't perform as much as Barlas's dog, shall we say. In fact, he's doing the same now. He's just fast asleep next to me. I won't show him off this time. I'll leave him there.
It's really good. He really enjoyed it. Great lad. And again, we're seeing with Victor, Mick, weren't it, where he stopped on for 10 minutes afterwards and chatting about nonsense as a top guy.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about Netflix and all sorts of stuff, or watching on here, watching this, watching that. It's just like, but it seems to be a theme that runs through all our players, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Good human beings.
Through we spoke to.
Yeah, well, there you go.
3 out of 3.
3 out of 3, and it's a cross section as well. You know, we spoke to Gimmer, we spoke to old Gimmer, we spoke to young goalkeeper, and former Premier League player. So it's like, you know, it's like a cross section.
We just need a striker, and we've got the lot now. We've got every section covered. Well,
yeah, let's try and get Freddie on before he goes. That'd be an interesting chat, wouldn't it? Good lord,
it would. I'm not sure Woody's going to come back on. You call him an old Gimmer, by the way. I'm not sure how happy he's going to be about
that. He's nearer my age than he is some others.
That's true. So we covered off midfield. Danny, what you have your midfield setup?
I think the one issue I have with trying to play Sadlier and Barlasser both in midfield is that it sort of goes back to a straight line in midfield, because you've got Sadlier in the number 10 position, then you've got Wiles or Lindsay on the centre circle, but then Barlasser's, sorry, Alison, his distribution's best from the quarterback position. That's where his distribution, because he can dish it out to the wingers or any sort of wide player. So that's the only issue I encounter with that, because I think if Warney does play Barlasser for his distribution, then you have to have the two midfielders in front of him, which is either going to be Wiles, Rathbone or Lindsay. Like I say, I think Rathbone is a little bit off pace at the minute, whether, like Mick says, he's been found out or he's just a little bit off pace, I don't know. But that's the thing, if you're a bit off pace, we've got the depth to swap you out. You know, that's not a criticism, we've just got the depth, you know. So if Rathbone's on a little slump, just bring Lindsay in. Similar players, just they execute it differently. They're very aggressive pressing players, but Lindsay's more of a standoffer, and then he'll go after you, whereas Rathbone just runs around the pitch like an headless chicken. Which was what I was always told not to do in football at school, but Rathbone's effective with it, so there you go. So yeah, I would say if we're talking distribution, keep Barlasser in with the two in front of him, but if we're talking about penetration, keeping hold of the ball and working away round Cheltenham's back three, I'd go for Sadlier in front of the two.
Yeah. And I think you've got to bear in mind the opponent. I think that will have an impact. We know they're dodgy defensively. So can we have that little bit of freedom to say, right, Sadlier, this is your game. You go help Smith and Grigg or whatever. But if we did that, then there is an argument for Oduffin starting. You start Barlasser and Oduffin as your two, and then you put Sadlier further forward. I'm just trying to shoe on Oduffin in. I really want to see a bit more of him. I'm really excited by him.
I think Oduffin will come in Tuesday for definite.
Oh, yeah. I think so. The goalkeeping question, we didn't really get a chance to cover this on the last episode, Lewis, but the goalkeeping situation's changed a little bit. It's Vickers has come in. It appears the mistake against Bolton appears to have cost Victor his first team place. Unless there's an injury that we don't know about, it seems that mistake cost his place. I know Vickers was superb against QPR, but it's changed quite quickly for me.
Yeah. Fair to Vickers, he's done nothing wrong. Whenever he's played, when he came in, he was seen as like one of the best number twos you could have in this division. And he's not put a foot wrong. To be fair to him, nor was apart from the odd mistake, nor was Victor. But I'd be happy to keep Vickers in. To be honest, I think as you say, he's warranted his place, and he has been one of our stronger players over the last few weeks. So I think he deserves to keep his place.
Yeah, Danny, anything to add on the Victor? Would you assume Victor comes back in on Tuesday again, like often?
Yeah, I'd say Victor comes in Tuesday, and if Victor does exceptional, then he'll come back in against Crewe on the 29th.
Crewe, yeah.
I think. But yeah, it's a marvellous thing having goalkeeper depth where it doesn't necessarily matter which one you play because they're both very good goalkeepers in their own right. We've not really had that situation in a lot of seasons gone by because we've usually had like the certified starter and then his backup just in case. But it's great to have two goalkeepers that we know we can rely on. All right, Victor has a little bit more of a mistake in him than Vickers does, but Victor and Vickers have both pulled off some game decisive saves this season. So it would be a football manager, eh?
Yeah. And to be fair, Mick, when you change keepers, it can often have a really bad impact on the defence. It hasn't really. I know, all right, yes, the goal we considered against Fleet was a little bit embarrassing, but other than that, the defence was solid. He was solid. Same with the QPR game. It's strange how it's not affected the defence in any way because you often see that when you change keeper a lot.
We've got a very experienced back three, whoever you're playing there, whoever's available. So I don't, and couple that with, as you just said there, the two keepers are pretty much of a muchness. They're both as good as each other. You know, I suppose Josh Vickers is more as a more experienced keeper and probably got less of a mistake in than Victor has. But I as far as the likes of Woody, Wes Harding, Michael Heckway are concerned, you know, I don't know, and Reg, I don't think they really care who's playing behind him because they've got confidence in whoever it is, and they know that they're going to behave in the same fashion, really, pretty much, you know. So, yeah, I don't think it's an issue. I think it's only an issue for Victor and for Josh Vickers. They're the only two people who could have an issue with it because, you know, they're competing with each other. But like Victor said when he played us, you know, when he spoke to us, he's as happy for Josh Vickers when he has a clean sheet and makes a couple of good saves or whatever as he would be if he'd done it himself. And again, that's sort of a testament to the way that Warney's got this team working for each other. So I don't see it as an issue. Who's between sticks, to be honest.
Fair enough. There was good news in midweek. Although our game wasn't on, the reserves had a game, and Angus MacDonald made a return. I think it was captain. Yes. It was a very, very young side. Amazing news, Danny. Really, I'm really happy to see him back out on a reserve game, but back in a red and white shirt.
Yeah, it's the first 90 minutes of football he's played since Cardiff in May. And I mean, he's edging it ever closer, which also probably prompts the Curtis Tilt situation to move a bit quicker with Wigan because we've got a defender coming through anyway that's going to be like a new signing. And I listened to his interview he did with the club today, and he's absolutely buzzing to feel like a footballer again. You know, he's been isolated, training on his own, just running. Now he's back in with the squads. He's in the match day 18 now. So yeah, it's great to see. And even though the club said he's most likely to get another run out in the next game, is it called the Central League Cup that the reserves are in?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Their next game's on the 1st of February. So if we don't see Angus in the squad for Doncaster, it'll be in that game doing full 90. But I hope to see him at least make a cameo, potentially against Cheltenham if there's a call for it, or against Cambridge in the Pizza Cup as well. We do have the option to now. But yeah, it's just great to have him back. And the welcome he's received upon his return has been fantastic as well. It's almost as if he's been in the squad the whole time, and he's just come back from Not a big injury, but it's just nice to have him back, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nice to see McDonald on the squad seat.
Yeah, and it has given the lift like a new signing. Certainly from the fans' point of view, from what I've seen, it's like a new signing. That excitement of him is like we've just signed him. And sometimes you need that. When you run a little of a bad run, it's good to have that little bit of good news, that positivity. You've got to assume the players are feeling it to a similar extent as well. I'm really hoping we see him against Cambridge. I don't know if he's fit enough to start the game and get an hour under his belt or something like that, but we'll talk about that on Sunday. Is there any argument for you, Lewis, to change the back three? Reg, Woody, Icky with the back three against Fleetwood. Again, the goal was rubbish to concede, but other than that, they were very good. Is there any reason to change it?
Not for me personally. I feel slightly bad for Harding that is out of it, but the way they're playing, there's no reason to change it. They're both all three of them have been solid as a rock or in all games have played. So not for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Joel Dapo, can we see both wing backs being changed as well? He wants to see Miller start because never seen Mikel Miller have a bad game. Adding if he's fit, which is a good point. Apparently he is fit, Mick. Everybody's fit apparently, although he might be hiding something a little bit there as he sometimes does. Can you see Chio changing?
He tends to drop Chio out occasionally by way of a bit of a surprise.
He did against Cheltenham last time.
Yeah, he did. He did. I don't know. I don't know if he. The thing is, if he drops Chio down to bench to rest him or whatever, then Wazardi's going to come in that position and take the wing back position up. Is there any reason why you would think about dropping Shane Ferguson? I mean, I can't think of a reason other than the fact that he's a little bit older than the rest of the players. Does he need a bit of a rest? He's been exceptional the last few games. And I'd love to see Mikel Miller as well. I'd love to see him back in the team. But I suspect on that point, and it's just my opinion, that until Shane Ferguson either gets injured or doesn't have a particularly good game, I suspect Miller might just end up coming on as a substitute just to give him that rest. I can't. That's going on based on the fact that that's what's happening in just about every other position in it so far this season.
Yeah. Can you see change? I know, but I agree with Mick, Danny, that I think Ferguson's been really good in the past month or two. The only reason to change is injury or a change in attack to add that extra pace. But then, like we saw at Cheltenham last time, do you want that for the last half an hour, last 20 minutes, and really kill him at that late on in the game?
Yeah, I mean, it is another interesting dilemma for Paul Warne to work out. But in terms of Chio and Fergie, they do all right on their own. They sort of complement each other a bit. Ferguson's more of your experienced head on the ball who gets into that position and crosses the ball in, whereas Chio sort of just kills them off with pace. Not quite as good at crossing the ball in, but he still gets into the position and creates the chance. But yeah, I think the only reason, we dropped Fergie is if we wanted to hit Cheltenham hard and fast in the first half. Because then if you've got, if you've got Chio and Mikel on both sets of wings, their back three will have a tormenting time dealing with that amount of pace. Because Cheltenham sort of set up with a more of a defensive wing back thing, whereas we're more attacking wing back. But then, do you want to just sort of match them up a bit more and then kill them off with pace later in the game? So I think we will stick with Fergie out on the left hand side and probably with Chio on the right hand side because they didn't do much wrong against Fleetwood. Like we said in that review, we were just toothless up front. But if you provide the chances, they will eventually score. So I think just stick with your two wide men as they were.
Yeah, I agree. Chris Tether, any news on the exit strategy for the weekend? Maybe now we don't have a large away following until Wigan in mid-Feb. We've got it sorted. That's certainly not going to be a problem with Cheltenham. We might bring about 100 fans or something like that. Not a big, but just not very well followed, not massively followed club. You never know, they might have finished the work. It's been How many years?
Oh, mate.
I like how we all laugh at that because we all know it's not true.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's not
dear.
gonna happen. That's not going to happen.
There's some doing this season.
We will. It's also worth noting that the COVID restrictions are being lifted from next week, so we will be able to return back to a full capacity. Well, full capacity except the 1,200 we can't have because of building work. So not full capacity, but over 10,000. You never know, it might be finished. Although if it finished, Club would have probably told us, wouldn't they? They probably put a statement out. It's trending now to put statements out, isn't it? Like every other championship and League One club, isn't it?
Can you imagine council finishing a job within a 6 months after the end of its when it's supposed to have finished? That's going to be still doing it next February. It's still going to be the same next season. It's bizarre. I'm surprised there's not been anything more made of it. It's certainly in local press and everything else. I'm really quite surprised, but football's not that important, I guess, in the scheme of things, particularly with what's been going off. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's really, really dangerous.
What the current exit strategy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's going over old ground, but the last game, who did we play? I can't remember who it was when it was in Bolton. We didn't leave the ground till probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes after the kick, after the end of the game, and we were still stuck in it. We were still queuing. We're still wandering around a dark car park in a massive crowd, trying to find your way down a little tunnel. That's 20 minutes after end of game. It's taken a long time for fans to clear, and it's just not good at all. But anyway.
Righty says on YouTube that they've put a new path in that runs between New York Way and the train line at the same level as the South Stand car park. So there may well be a new exit strategy. It wouldn't surprise me if they've put it in and then they don't use it.
Yeah, it's like them temporary stairs that they put in to get into the disabled car park. I have not seen one person use them. And who did we play when I was in the East Stand? I think when we played Man City when we were in the East Stand, and I went and looked at the steps and they taped them off. It's like it just goes back to the age-old saying that me and my mum have, and just go, no, it's all from council, isn't it? They have definitely got at least 16 silly decisions every year in them, and I think we're probably at least the 7th this year already.
Here we are. It'd be nice to be back. We're excited on Tuesday. It'll be 22 days, whatever it was, since New Year that we've been back. So it feels like a long time. And over the next couple of months, we're going to be there a lot. We're over all the games we've got coming up. So let's just finally finish off with some predictions. How I think it's going to go. Lewis, let's start with you, mate. How's Saturday going to play out, do you think?
I think I'll go 3-1 Millers. I think it'll be quite a tough game, but I think our quality going forward will prove the difference in the end. I think they might snatch a goal in first half, and then we might rattle through them in second half. Place your bets.
I'm going to go over the top, confident, and expected to back me on the arse. I'm going to go 4-0 because why not? Why not? Danny, any 5-0? You can go 5-0.
I mean, with your score prediction, Matt, you harken back to the whole, someone's due a battering. Do you remember that round October time and end up being Sunderland? Yeah. No, I'm going to go very pessimistic and say 1-0, but as long as we win, I don't care. Because I think after Fleetwood, a win would be a perfect response that would gear us up again. I think if we end up drawing or even losing, God forbid, everybody's heads will go down, not just the players, but the fans. And I feel for the players if we do draw or lose, because knowing our fans, they will give them some stick. So I pray we win for the players' sake and they don't get abused for it.
The fans' heads won't go down. Their fans' heads will explode. Mick, what do you think? You said we need a performance as well as a result. Are you going to tell me?
I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking that, can you imagine now, and if we do lose, they're going to need that bridge over at River Dun, because water level is going to rise about 6 feet with everybody crying, isn't it? So, no, listen, this is it. This is it. Our bad patch is over now. We've lost 2 in 25. It's time we got our act together. We're back on it. 4-0 Millers. We're going to go for it Saturday, and we're going to absolutely wipe it aside. Can't believe I've just been that positive.
Yeah, that definitely needs to be clipped.
Not scary, that.
Oh yeah. What I've been drinking.
What's in that bottle?
Yeah, I would clip that and put it on Twitter, but then when we lose 1-0, we'll all look very stupid if we're all Cheltenham fans see that. So I'm not going to put that on.
No, don't put that.
Russ Vernon is with us. He's going to go 2-1 with Smith. He thinks Cody's going to get his first league goal. Could have been Smith getting another goal. Not at the end of the world. He's not in a drought or anything like that. But it's always nice to keep that total ticking over when he's had such a good season so far. There we go. That's what we're going to do. That's where we're going to leave it. Thank you all for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Oh, Danny's go on.
I do have one last thing to say. I'm a bit heartbroken about the news that's come out saying we're not in for Jermaine Defoe this transfer window.
You saying we should be back? Should be getting a 39-year-old striker who's probably past it.
Yeah, I think so. It has certainly rattled a few. Can you imagine Jermaine Defoe in a Rotherham shirt? Like, imagine saying that to someone 10 years ago. They'd have put you in an insane asylum. Jermaine Defoe at Rotherham. But now his Paul Wan's poo-pooed it. He said his wage structure is far too big for us. And when I read the piece in the Star, it was so funny because the way Paul Wan explained it, it's like it's a very, very serious no. But in terms of his wage structure, it's quite funny. If people can find the article, go and read it. It is quite funny. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in because it's an awful shame we're not going for Jermaine Defoe.
Yes. Is Defoe the same age as you, Mick? That's about right, isn't it?
John. Yeah. I think he's on about as many £1,000 a week as I am in years. That's about it.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, they've had some good business. Danny Bath signing for Sunderland is a really good signing for League One. I know they Pip Sheffield Wednesday to him. Frustratingly good business. And also Wigan signing Graham Shinnie for 30 grand or whatever it were from Derby, sorry. That's also a really good signing. Yeah. Also it takes some time for it to bed in. About 30 grand. Everything must go at Derby.
Transfer fees or paying him that a week.
That's the transfer fee. I think his wages are quite high.
Yeah.
He's going from Derby into, so he'll be on about 80 grand a week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Poor Derby. That's for another time.
We'll find out what happens with them by February. Because apparently they're running out of cash by February. No, this year. That's when Derby are apparently running out of cash in February.
By the time we find out in February, they'll each Wickham, Middlesbrough, EFL, and Derby will put 20 more statements out each blaming each other. We'll get blamed somehow. They'll blame Boris somehow and all. It'll be brilliant.
Did anyone see the EFL statement today?
Yeah.
Like a book. I had to scroll through. I ain't got time to read all that.
You get to the first point of the make, it's like, I can't be bothered. My tea's ready.
I would
to put phone down.
I was mixing a couple of paragraphs on that rate, but I'm not ready for full essay.
No, at least when Middlesbrough put theirs out, they're quite short, succinct, and they're very vicious and to the point. But they're quite very, to the point. It's crazy watching this unfold from the outside. At least we're not involved. We're not involved in this kind of thing. Thankfully, we're not. So that's nice.
It's nonsense.
We can't sue somebody.
It's absolute nonsense that any club would look to alter what happened last season on the basis of, doing it in a court of law. It's just stupid. But maybe Wickham are just looking to try and waste as much time as they possibly can, as per usual, till Derby go out of business. Could have.
Yeah. Well, We see his interview. He's a lawyer, isn't he? The Wickham owner. So what else is he going to do?
Well, there you go, then.
That's literally his job, isn't it?
That explains a lot. Then that explains why Wickham waste so much time in it, because time's money, innit?
I spoke to a Wickham fan last night on the EFL debate with Gab Sutton, and the Wickham fan reckons we're going to go up. Very, very positive and nice about us. So,
surprised by that.
Yeah, I were. The Wigan fans thought we were going to go up as well, but the Sunderland fans didn't think. So Sunderland can.
No, yeah, of course didn't.
They should have thought that was the way of the season, aren't they? Still,
yeah. Any more for any more? Anybody else got any topics, whinges, moans you want to put forward? Nick, I'm sure you've got something to moan about.
I've got lots to moan about, but I'll just talk to my wife afterwards.
Yeah. About your laptop.
Let's not go into that. That's not a subject I want to discuss at the moment.
That's the record on that one.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned the laptop, he just saw the lone tear come down his cheek.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
There we go. Thank you all for watching. If you're on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. If you're also on YouTube, once this finishes, go over and watch the Dan Barlester episode. If you haven't already, watch it. If you watched it, watch it again. It's brilliant. It's a great lad. Fun, lots of fun stuff in there. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's also out on podcast. There was a delay this morning getting it out, but that is out now. If you want to just audio listen to it, there was quite a lot of editing that had to go on for certain parts of it. But you'll know why if you've watched it, you'll know why there was lots of editing needed for that one. We will be back on Sunday evening when we will hopefully have a review this time for Cheltenham, and we'll do a very small preview look ahead to the Pizza Trophy with Cambridge coming back to town again on Tuesday. Lewis, it's been great to have you back, mate. We'll have you back again soon.
Yeah, definitely. I've enjoyed it, lads. Thank you.
Top man. Danny, it's always been a pleasure, and we will. If anybody's got any transfer questions, go to Danny because anyone will answer them for you.
I mean, with some of them, my hands are tied, and I can't answer some of them. But if you've got a transfer rumour, please send it my way, and I can try and debunk it for you at least.
Exactly.
And if Danny can't answer it, send it to me. I'll answer it.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, Mick, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you on Sunday as well.
You're a liar.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Freddie's on one-on-one. The Freddie Kenny shoot container shot. Unbelievable! Apologies to the neighbours.